Welcome back. This time we're talking about The Circle, the technological thriller starring Tom Hanks, Emma Watson, John Boyega, Karen Gillan, and a bunch of other well-known actors. Now, before I get into my actual review, let me apologize for how late this video is. Between work and other life obligations, I just have not had time to film and edit and upload any videos. Now, the byproduct of that is it's actually been 5 days since I saw the movie, which has given me more time than usual to think about what I want to say about this movie. Unfortunately, those 5 days have not given me any better insight onto actually what the heck the producers and director and writers were thinking when they made this movie, because it still doesn't make much sense at all. This is a confounding mess of a movie. Which was a big disappointment because the story, at least what it appears to be based on the trailers, is that it was going to be revolving around the ever-presence of social media and how it is slowly taking over our lives and diminishing personal privacy. And sort of a side aspect of that is the fact that a select number of large corporations having vast amounts of personal data about people and how they are sort of collating that and using it for their own benefit. So this seemed to be a very timely movie to come out. Again, I just don't know what the heck they were trying to do with this, because again, it is an absolute mess. I will say I can see the idea that they may have been going with sort of a satire approach to this, in the vein of a massive example of dramatic irony. They just don't actually make that work in this movie. The story centers around a young woman named May, played by Emma Watson. She's basically in a 9-to-5 job she hates. Her friend, who is played by Karen Gillan, calls her and says she has an interview to join The Circle, which is this fictional kind of amalgamation of Google and Facebook. She goes to the interview, she gets the job, and now she's working for this giant company where everyone just seems overly happy and enthusiastic. It's sort of like Children of the Corn if the children were millennials. And I'll get back into the whole millennial thing, and because there's something about this movie. But in any event, she's working there, everything seems to be fine. But as things go on, she notices that just what the company's doing, and just again that whole invasion of privacy and allowance by people to allow their privacy to be invaded by corporations, by the government, and even themselves. There's this just sort of just, it keeps pulling at the side of this story. And so you see where the film appears to be going, that it's going to be this thriller where she gets into the dark underbelly and see how things are much more nefarious than they first appear. And there's basically every warning sign that you could possibly imagine is put in front of May. Just one after the other, including a character played by John Boyega who shows up and basically says, there are bad things happening. And every single step of the way, through either willful ignorance or just sheer stupidity, May ignores these signposts, and not only ignores the signposts, makes decisions that would appear to be the exact opposite of the logical conclusion a character would make. And I don't want to spoil the movie. If you want to go see it, that's fine. I'm not going to recommend that you do. I'm not going to spoil it, but I would just say that her character just never seems to go in any one direction far enough for us to make any kind of conclusion about her motives. It's just, she comes across as a very self-absorbed, stereotypical millennial. And I'm not someone who typically rails against millennials. I mean, I'm 36. I don't feel like I've quite reached the point where I need to complain about the next generation. But if I were to make a character and just say, okay, I want to make the most blatant, stereotypical millennial, as they are often derided, May would be it. And it's an off-putting character because it's an off-putting stereotype. And again, it's just nothing about this film works. If they wanted to go the satire route, if they felt that that was what they were going for, they don't go there far enough that there's that sort of wink where we really realize that the film is in on the joke, for the lack of a better phrase. The credits rolled, and I just sort of sat there for a minute going, what just happened? The movie is based on a book by, I believe his name is Dave Edgars. I even went to Wikipedia and looked up the plot synopsis that Wikipedia has for pretty much everything. And I know that's a very bare bones Cliff Notes style summary of the story, but I was wanting to see if they had just like took this story and went that extra mile to actually sort of make something of it. And it appears, and I don't want to spoil that book, and I don't want to spoil the ending of this movie. But from what I read, it does feel like at least May goes in a direction in the third act of the book that she does not in this movie. I'm honestly not sure that it would have actually made the movie or her character better. But it would have at least given us something more than what this film does, which is not much at all. If you're going into The Circle expecting this techno thriller that's diving into the surveillance world, it's sort of the personal surveillance world. Like we had the Bourne movies that really dive into that. From a government standpoint, but obviously with Facebook Live and YouTube Live and everything else, people can basically put themselves out there, and companies like Facebook and Google are ready to gobble up all of that information and use it for their commercial purposes. I'm personally not someone that thinks that they're automatically evil, because these are what people are giving them this information. It's just, we as a society, sometimes we do need to, I think, take a step back and go, is this what we really want to be doing? And that's what I thought I was going to get with this movie. And it might still be what they thought they were going to be giving us, but that's the execution is just an absolute mess. So as I alluded to earlier in this is not a movie I can recommend to pretty much anyone. I found it an absolute mess. Just did not work as an enjoyable film, as a social commentary, or even if it's a thriller, because it just never seems to actually go anywhere. It's basically a few minor events happen, May acts in a very illogical way, and that's the end. So if you've seen The Circle, did you like it any better than I did? Like I said, it is an absolute mess to me. I did not enjoy it at all. As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.